Welcome to the In My Opinion show. I'm your host, Ronald Barrington Robinson, and welcome to our millions of viewers worldwide. I'd like to introduce you to our very talented co-host, Miss Jackie Williams.
Hello, fellows.
Hello.
And Mr. Henry Hatter.
Thank you.
Folks, let's talk about the United States Constitution. 25th Amendment. Amendment 25, Presidential Disability and Succession. In case of the removal of the President from office or of his death or resignation, the Vice President shall become President. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the Vice President, the President shall nominate a Vice President who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of Congress. Whenever the President transmits to the President pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the Vice President or acting President. Whenever the Vice President and a majority of either the principal officers of the Executive Department or of such other body as Congress may by law provide transmit to the President pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting President. Thereafter, when the President transmits to the President pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the power and duties of his office unless the Vice President and a majority of either the principal officers of the Executive Department or such other bodies of Congress may by law provide, transmit within 4 days to the President pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling written within 48 hours for the purpose, if not in session, if the Congress within 21 days after receipt of the latter written declaration. This is a lot of stuff, isn't it? Or if Congress is not in session within 24 days after Congress is required to assemble, determined by 2/3 vote of both houses that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall continue to discharge the same as acting President. Otherwise, the President shall resume the powers and duties of his office. We were just talking about that before we came on the camera, so a lot of it has to do with people, with Congress. Okay, we have a president in office right now. I think that they're talking about the 25th Amendment, all right? They're also talking about impeachment. Jackie, what are your thoughts?
That is a lot. So, as he stated, please look up the 25th Amendment of the Constitution, because there is a lot of meat in there. But just like to let's just pull it back just a little bit. Though I agree that there is that this amendment is applicable to this president, we can't even get Congress to hold him accountable to any of his behavior. So for them to even invoke this, I just can't see it happening, because I was watching the news and they had some interesting spots, and what it said was that this president is not just a normal citizen prior to becoming the president, because he was born of great wealth, so he's never had to do or deal with things that regular people have to deal with. So he's always had everything at his beck and call. He's never been held accountable to any of his actions. People were paid great numbers to be around him to assist him at getting out of any situation that he got himself into. And that's why when you push him in a corner, he comes out swinging, because he's not used to people criticizing him and being able to do it, because normally they can't touch him, because outside of him being financially wealthy, he was also a celebrity. So he had all of these fences built around him that he thought would carry him into the presidency. But as he went into the presidency, people started to see what was behind the fence, because it wasn't a privacy fence. It was a fence where we could see, and we could see some things that weren't lining up. We could figure out why he was always angry, why he's been married several times, because he has anger issues, and he's like a spoiled kid. If he doesn't have his way, he says things that are very mean, and he hasn't been held accountable. So back to my original point is, though I agree with the 25th Amendment, that he's not really stable in his thinking process, because they're telling him what the rules are. He won't listen. A wise person listens to counsel. He won't listen. He does what he wants to do, regardless of what lawyers are telling him to do. So he is not making good decisions, and this does apply. But again, we have a Congress right now that will not hold him accountable for anything that he is doing. So I just can't picture them even going further to invoke the 25th Amendment.
And then to add to that, I can understand those Republicans up in Washington or wherever they may be located or reside. They owe their allegiance and responsibilities to their constituents, all right? He's the 45th president, so that means, folks, we've had 45 different presidents, all right? If you're a Republican or Democrat, okay, you owe your allegiance to your constituents, all right? Don't lose, your law licenses or other things because of one man. You have a life to live after Trump leaves office, either voluntary or involuntary. So you need to think about that, all right? Mm-hmm. Now, you may have been a Republican all your life, but now you're in the big house, all right? You're in a position to make laws and so forth. Make them so that that they're acceptable by most Americans, not some group, all right, of men, and some women. Take care of your when you go home and talk to your constituents. I'm sure you hear a whole lot of things. All right, you have common sense. Use it. All right, you know right from wrong. We got a president that doesn't know right from wrong. Okay, I don't know the man personally. I don't think I want to, but your responsibility, again, rests with your constituents, all right, and your family, your friends. Don't let this one person, upset the America anymore. He's upset our allies all around the world. Okay, every chance he gets it. In my opinion, it's been disadvantage. It's a disadvantage to the United States. Okay, why in the heck would he want to fight with Mexico and Canada? All right, our staunchest allies. All right, and then keep throwing in this crap. Like now the tariffs and so forth. Sure, okay, I'm sure that it's unequal in many ways, but he can't fix stuff. If he's constantly arguing, he has to sit down and talk. With some common sense. And what he's doing is more of a threat than anything else.
Bullying.
And bullying. You can't do that. Not in America. Mr. Hatter, what is your thoughts?
Well, the president certainly has a different style of displaying his role in the White House. It's different. We've never seen someone like him except Andrew Jackson and maybe Abraham Lincoln. But those were tough presidents, and they had tough jobs to do. Now, in this case, Trump's argument is that we have let too much of our businesses, too much of our gold leave the country, and we need to do something. And as far as impeaching him or dismissing him, and he was elected by the people of the United States of America. And that's a process that you can't undo. And except very tactfully and well put together by many groups. And because they're legal issues and they're technical issues that you have to deal with, else you destroy the country. So people have to move cautiously when they talk about impeaching the presidents on the grounds of insanity. Insanity is hard to prove. The only place that I could remember, not too much in American government, and we may have had presidents with the same kind of modality, but I do remember Rome had it, and his name was Nero, if Nero was insane. But I don't know he was or not.
Well, then what happened to Nero?
Well, he fiddled while Rome burned.
And then what happened to him?
I don't remember what happened to him.
You just don't want to say it.
Right.
So, but in this case, I would be cautious. He is the 45th president of the United States. Rather than destroy the integrity of the process that bring presidents to us, we have to deal with President Trump. We can't throw him out.
But there is no, in my opinion, he has no integrity. Okay, he might hold the office, of the president of the United States, but there's more to it than that comes with the job.
I was just looking, and we were just talking about it. I was looking at today on the internet. They list the 40 most favored presidents of the United States, and some of these presidents I thought ranked higher than they should have. And for example, Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was number 19. He was 21 presidents that were higher than him. I mean, that was less culpable than he was. So, and then I looked at Barack Obama, must have been about 11 or 12. And somewhere in that category. Abraham Lincoln was first, and most people would agree that was a foregone conclusion, because without his accomplishments, nothing would have mattered. So I would say comparing Andrew Jackson with President Trump, Andrew Jackson, I thought, would be criticized because he didn't like blacks and he didn't like slaves, and he put his muddy boots up on the furniture in the White House and stuff like that. And I thought that he would have been criticized for that mannerism, but he wasn't. He was exonerated by his ability to influence legislation. And the same thing with President Obama and Clinton. They were all categorized by the ability to influence legislation. And when you look at Trump, his ability to influence people to move in his direction is highly regarded.
Well, why are they influenced? This is the question. Because influence could be either positive or negative. Since Trump has been in office, we have had an outpour of violent crimes against racial,
I wouldn't go there.
This is statistics.
The country does not look that way.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
No.
Because
I'll argue with you on that one.
Well, I mean, you can disagree, but stats are what they are.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you have a president that cannot just look at the camera and say, fellow Americans, like most presidents would address America, he has to always segregate. Well, Black America's doing way better. And
why? That's what young people want to hear.
No.
They don't want to hear about slavery. They don't want to hear about things that went wrong in their lives and their parents' lives.
No.
They want to hear the potential to rise.
But the thing is, they're not rising. And so this is another stat. So let me just help you with this stat.
Okay, go ahead.
The stat says that even though he's pushing and saying the economy is so much better,
yes,
wages have not moved.
There's
So
a
the
process that moves
1%,
wages.
the 1% again has been increased, but the rest is not trickling down as we figured out years ago. That doesn't work. So wages have increased for the 1%, but wages have been flat for regular Americans. This is who he said he was fighting for. He was fighting to have wages increase. This is what he was fighting for. But the tax breaks don't resemble it. His behavior don't resemble it. And what he's doing to our environment doesn't resemble that he care anything about us, because stuff that used to cause major health crisis, he has lessened the accountability to them. So now that they can do the same thing that they did before that caused lung cancer. So you're not helping us. You're just helping the business people. So you don't care anything about us, because when you care about people, you make decisions that reflect that. Those decisions don't reflect that. And then when you criticize him, he's like a little kid out of control. Newsflash, Donald Trump, though you are the president, the Justice Department is not your group of people to go out and hurt people and do things to reflect you. They represent the United States, not you per se. The United States. And another one, we can speak to the press if we want to. We have freedom of religion. We can talk about religious stuff. We can speak when we want to. We don't need your permission. That is a dictatorship like your friend. Okay?
And we,
there's no
and we can kneel if we want to. And also the economy is not rebounding because of Trump. President Barack Obama started this in 2008. All right,
yes.
The economy is a result of the things that President Obama put into play. So this mess that you keep hearing about, like Trump's touting, well, since I took office, the economy, this, that. It started in 2008. By President Obama. Let's get real, okay? And Henry, for your question, okay, you had the most favorable. Who was the less favorable?
One of the Harding, I think, he was the one that only served 3 months in office. He died of pneumonia. Yeah. He was the least favorable.
Well, that was then.
But I'm not here to.
It's less favorable with Donald Trump, the 45th president. Well, all right. I mean, you can, you're a Republican, so we expect for you to. No, I'm an American. Okay.
And I think that any Republican who violates the law, any woman, any black man, any rich man who violates the laws of the United States should be in jail.
Trump.
And we did. We put Papadopoulos.
Trump.
We're putting them in jail one by one.
You guys are jumping.
You brought it up
because this is your camp. This is his camp. And he says that everybody is just making up
You're
stuff.
not speaking to my point.
No, my point is saying that if he's a Republican, whatever it is, if they did a crime, they need to do the time.
I said, man,
I'm explaining to you they're doing the time because of the crime. You got people that Papadopoulos. What did he get? 4 months the other day. These are all people that were centered around.
He was convicted in a court of law.
He got 14 days.
14 days. You're right.
He got 14 days.
But he was convicted in a court of law. You haven't brought the president to justice yet.
It's coming.
I wasn't saying
then wait until it comes.
No, the pressure's on.
How can you wait when it's coming, when every time you turn around, he's attacking Sessions? I'm not a fan of Sessions. And Sessions realized...
He is not either.
Obviously.
You guys are on the same track.
No. The reason why I'm not a fan of Sessions is because of the stuff that he's doing to the immigrants. But... President Trump is not a fan of Sessions because he did not stop this investigation. There's a difference. I don't like him because of what he's doing. He had an agenda.
You don't like Republicans, period.
No, I do.
Do we like you, Henry?
No, you don't.
Do we like you?
No, that's not true.
Smoke.
I like what's right and wrong. Whatever side it fall on. But right now, I haven't seen any right fall in the House of the Republicans. You guys are in charge of the House.
You have condemned all Republicans based upon what the president does.
No, I'm saying
wrong.
What they did. You have a president that has called for Sessions to go after a newspaper and tell who the source is. You don't have to do that. This is not a dictatorship.
Yeah, but he can do that.
No, he can say it.
He cannot.
He doesn't have to share it with you.
He doesn't. He can say it, but he can't do squat.
They don't have to release that information to him.
And he doesn't have to tell you.
But
He can do
they
that
don't
in
have
a
to release
covert
that.
way.
They don't have to release that
And
information to
we
him.
don't know until he says it or until you find the proof.
If you're scared of people releasing things that you say, why don't you stop saying stuff that doesn't make sense? How about you do that? And you know, your mother used to tell you that if you're worried about somebody judging you by what you say, then stop saying it.
Exactly.
Everywhere they go, like they said, there is so many things that's pointing to his instability. Every time
That
somebody
doesn't
writes
mean
something,
instability.
they're
That
saying
means
that
he doesn't
is,
agree with you. He's against you.
When have you ever
not
seen a
against you, but
president
against
get his whole
what
staff
your
off
belief.
of Fox News? When have you ever seen that? Off of Fox network, he's he's employed more than 7 people.
He can
Who does
deploy
that?
them from whoever.
And they
he
said this is
decides.
the problem with the White House is because he has so many inexperienced people in a position where you need experience.
That may be the case.
That's
But
the
that's
problem.
his choice.
That's
the
the
president has that choice.
And well,
And
when
you-
you
we would
fall,
not
when
want
you
to-
fail with your choices, you need to
We
own up
would
to
not
it.
want to take those things away from
No,
the
I'm
president.
not saying take them, but don't
Because
take our
another
stuff
person-
either. Trump,
What
don't take
stuff?
our. We have a right to tell you that we don't like what you're doing. We have a right to write
Who
about
does?
it.
Who?
The newspaper articles. It's not fake
But
news.
who
It's
has that
fair
right?
news.
We
Who has
as
that
American
right?
citizens,
It's fair news.
Okay.
First
American
Amendment
citizens.
rights.
All right.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
American people are not talking. It's you that's talking.
No, American is speaking.
They're
No, you're not
speaking. They're
speaking.
speaking.
You're,
They're
you're,
speaking.
you're
They're
a
speaking.
single individual speaking your opinion.
No,
No,
because
it's-
your president, our president, I'll correct that. Our president never give press conferences because he doesn't want to be held accountable. He answers only the questions that he wants to. That's not being transparent, and that's why we're having a blue wave across the United States right now is because people are not happy with the leadership in the White House.
And
Well,
plus that man, okay, it's unprecedented. That man, last count, has lied to the American public over 6,000 times. 6,000 times. That's unprecedented.
If he was a
I
kid,
don't
he'd be
know
on
whether I've
punishment.
lied that many times.
Right, if he was a kid, he'd be on punishment.
I don't know whether I've lied that many times, and I.
And his approval rating is an all-time. This breaking
That's
record.
okay.
It's at 65%.
No, much lower than that.
No.
It's closer to 30.
Yeah,
disapproval.
It's
Oh,
38.
approval,
It's
you're right,
38%. It's 38%.
You know?
And that's okay. Lincoln's was that way too. And yet he's considered.
What year was that?
Lincoln.
What year was that? That's my point.
That was about 1863.
Yeah, we're in
1864.
2018.
Yeah.
And-
Okay,
and,
but now you're changing the subject.
No, because I'm just letting you
No,
know, relevant.
But that was
He
then,
is not
and
a,
this is now.
they're not
Don't go
approving
there.
him because of what he does. And so people vote with their feet. They vote with their feet in their hands. So that's why the blue wave is coming.
Oh, well,
Because they're coming out and letting you know. Because he even proposed something on Friday, which was even more appalling.
You
that he
didn't
wants to get rid of protesters. Who are you? He want to get rid of protesters because he wants us to be like.
How? What did you say? How
He
did he
said
want-
that he wants to make it illegal for us to protest because whatever decisions he make, we need to be in agreement. So when he went over and spoke with, in China, North Korea, he liked the way that when he spoke, everybody stood up in reference to him.
Americans will never do that. I can tell you now that.
I'm gonna tell you, Jackie not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not gonna ever do it. I don't worship Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Ever.
The American people, that's not worth talking
But he talks about it all the time. That's
Yeah,
why
but
he wanted the parade that costs millions of dollars when we don't even have money for veterans. But you want to have a parade in Washington that spends millions of dollars just so you can act like another country.
I don't know, to build enthusiasm for the directions and for the defend the country and
then also
people, encourage that we're all one.
For $21 million, I think you can send out a memo.
That's just a
and then add to that something that I've never been able to understand in my life. How come people would rather hear a lie than the truth? Okay? People would rather hear the lie than the truth. So maybe that's the wave
they can't tell the difference.
the Trump is on, all right?
They can't tell the difference.
He tells 6,000 lies. They're not all the same.
But at one point, it mustn't sound good.
Ron, remember, a lie looks different from different people, from your perspective.
But a lie is a lie is a lie.
But why do
With reference to what?
Let's get to the root of it. Why do people lie? That's the question. You know why people lie?
To cover their ass.
And also
Excuse my
because
French.
we don't view ourselves as we should. A lot of people view themselves in higher regards than we really should. And so if I lie about it, eventually
I know the type.
You know what I said? Eventually
Do I
you
look
believe
like
it.
that?
And if you tell the lie enough times and enough people tell the same lie, then obviously it must be the truth.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
just think about small lies that you heard when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. I love you, Mom, but that wasn't the truth. But I thought so that's what we had to do, clean up our house on Saturday because cleanliness was next to godliness.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, don't you want God to be happy?
Well, that depends on who's looking at it.
Well, now I'm looking at it,
When
it's not
God
the
looked
truth.
at it, everything had to be perfect, right?
Right.
God is omniscient, and omnipresent. He's everything in one.
Omnipotent.
Okay,
He's
omnipotent.
omnipotent.
But
And
that
he
means
is.
that everything has got to be clean, got to be perfect. So, Mom, you're right.
That's why you're a Republican. See how you just
No, Mom is
made that
right.
seem like that was right? That's not right.
Well, Mom is right.
Because he loves people that are not clean.
Okay, get on about the
Right. You
lies.
don't want to go there. You
And
don't wanna go there.
you say that Trump has lied 6,000 times or 63,000.
But it might even be 7,000 by
By right
today.
now. What time is it?
But every time the president says something, you assume that he
No.
get that many lies.
As soon as he get through speaking, this is the sad part. It's breaking news. Donald Trump called it another
Even
lie.
my little granddaughter, she's 4 years old. All right, she said, "Grandpa,
I got to hear this.
this man is lying again." Now, where she got that from?
She was taught that.
You know what I mean? Maybe she heard me say it. I don't know, but I mean, it blew me away.
Truth
Grandpa,
is the truth, huh?
that man is lying again. Isn't that right, Grandpa? I said, "Yes, baby. Yes, baby."
But
What will our history books say?
the
what will our
president-
history books say versus what he told us and what the truth is?
no, the president will be judged by the next generation.
No,
He's
it's
not-
going to be judged by
what you
this
do
generation.
here will not characterize the president, but the next generation will. They will take a look at all of the issues that came to bear during his administration and the things that he tried to promote to meet his goal. And his goal is
To destroy America.
to make sure that there's full employment for Americans, that we're safe from intrusion from outside forces, and that there are jobs for everybody.
So if his goal is to make sure that we're safe, every Department of Security has told him that we have been hacked by Russia. Now we just found out we've been hacked by China.
We're always hacked by somebody.
Yeah, so
And
they just said,
we do our own hacking too.
but that's not what we're talking about right
Yes,
now. So
but that's part of it.
we've been hacked by Russia, China, and I think it was one more that they said that they just had evidence of. We have done nothing. We have no money allotted to stop any type of meddling in the midterms. And then on top of that, we have nothing allotted for them to do any type of, investigation of the midterms.
This was true.
And then on top of it, IBM had to send out a report to say, you guys, we're being hacked right now, and we have done nothing.
Other presidents have been hacked over and over and over.
So that makes it okay that we've been hacked and just let them be hacked?
We can't move aggressively without evidence and without a plan.
That's why IBM came out and said, I'm going to give a report because you guys don't want to listen to anybody else. I'm going to tell you that we're being hacked.
With that, we must unfortunately bring this segment to a close. This is Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends saying until next time, please stay focused.